Hi, my name is Mary Ann Beltnick.
Explain whatever you can on how you got your identity stolen.
Well, I'm not quite sure exactly how my identity got stolen. A lot of times you just don't find out that information. But I did find some very, very small transactions through my PayPal account at first. And then I called PayPal and they weren't my authorizations and my purchases. So PayPal went ahead and canceled them. And then a couple days later, there was some activity on my personal accounts, like my email accounts and my eBay and my Amazon accounts. And then I knew there was something going on. And then for about 2 weeks, I actually would get notifications that my passwords for websites were being changed, so I would go in and change them back, and I would call the companies, and this would happen all night long. So finally, after a couple weeks of not sleeping and going through this, and they weren't getting any money, they were just getting into all of my accounts and changing all of my personal information, like your contact information, which is your email and your phone. So I went ahead and got a new phone. And change all of my important banking information and things like that to the new phone number, which is this phone. It's just a cheap prepaid phone. And I don't know how they found it, but they found that phone, and so that phone number now is no good. So I ended up getting hold of the Fenton police, and they came over and took a statement and said this is definitely an identity theft. And due to the amount of accounts that they got, which is no banking. I'm surprised they didn't get any banking accounts, but they got all of my social media, my Snapchats, my Facebook, anything that I had on a computer or on my iPhone is what they were hacking. So we did actually take a couple of steps in rectifying that situation. It's really difficult having to go through all of this because, as I said, we think that they're a foreign hacker, which means their time zone is opposite of mine. So as they're hacking me, it's actually about 11 o'clock at night until about 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting notifications all night long on my phone and in my email that my passwords and things are being changed in my accounts. So I have to get up and I have to go behind them and rechange everything again. So yeah, it's very difficult dealing with this. So there's actually a lot that happened to me that I can't talk about because the local authorities feel that so much of my identity was stolen that it's actually at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI level right now. They have seized my hard drives, they have seized my phones, they really want to catch this person because of the extent of what they're doing to me. But basically because I've had to shut down and lose all of my devices. So you can see here that I've lost my Mac, I've lost the extra cell phone, I've lost my brand new iPhone that I just got, and also if you have an iWatch, it's compromised. So these items are actually going to be no longer any good to me. They're of no value and I can throw them in the garbage.
My name's Officer Amanda Eads and I'm with the Burton Police Department.
Do you get a lot of cases for identity theft, and how common is it?
We do get a lot of cases for identity theft. It's very common. It's very easy now with the internet, and people throw away garbage that has a lot of their information on it. They throw away bills or just mail with their name and their address on it, or people call them on the phone and they ask them questions, and I don't want to say stupidly, but they stupidly answer these questions that can be used as security questions to obtain credit or other things. So it's very, very common. We get credit card, where people use their identity to get credit cards. They get loans, they obtain consumers bills, all kinds of things using other people's identity.
Is the process of finding someone who has committed hacking time consuming, and why?
It's very time consuming, just because a lot of times it's not necessarily somebody right around this area. Somebody that has hacked something is not always in the area. They could be in another state, they could be in another country. So it's very hard to, one, track them down, and two, it's very time consuming.
What are the consequences of hacking someone?
The consequences of hacking someone are different. It's case by case situation. If you hack somebody to obtain their identity for fraud, that's a felony. It just kind of depends on the crime you commit. If you hack someone to send out inappropriate pictures of them, you could be committing, like some people do it as revenge porn. When they break up, they hack into their accounts and they send out naked pictures of them. That can be a charge. A lot of times teenagers, they will send each other pictures of themselves and people will hack into their accounts and send them out. So now they're sending out child porn. So it just kind of depends on the crime you commit while hacking someone as to the consequences of it. It's very easy to get your identity stolen nowadays. Like I alluded to earlier, it's easy for someone to steal your mail and get your identity that way. It's easy to get your information on the internet because people pay a lot of bills on the internet. People answer a lot of those surveys on the internet, and it gets a lot of your personal questions or your personal information through those questions. People share a lot of things nowadays that in the past people didn't always share, so it's easy to get your identity that way. Sometimes it's as easy as your brother or sister or cousin, somebody that looks like you and that knows you will take your identity. Something as simple as on a traffic stop, somebody gets pulled over and they have a warrant and you don't, and they look like you, so they don't have their ID on them. They say, oh, I'm so-and-so. People get a hold of social security numbers when people die, and they steal those and they use those. So it's really easy, unfortunately.
How familiar are you with the dark web?
I learned that it's not a separate internet. It's just our regular internet. It's not our regular stuff where you go buy stuff on Amazon or look your friends up on Google or whatever. It's ways to obtain illegal things. Like there used to be a page, it was called Backpage, and it's where, I'll use the friendly word, the prostitutes would go walk on Dordt Highway. Now they're on the internet, so you can find them on the internet. Or people will try to get child porn or other porn or hackers or things like that on the internet. So it's ways to find things, illegal things on the internet as opposed to just regular everyday things like you and I search for. The dark web is still running, probably just like anything else is still out there because it's so large, and when they shut down one site, another one pops up. But sometimes they're sophisticated setups and they're hard to track down, and like I said, you shut one down and the next one pops up, and they're on the internet. It's hard to track them down where they're at, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of resources, and they're like cockroaches. They just multiply and they're all over the place.
The main way to hack, it has a different meaning than what people believe. A lot of people think that you can just get on the computer, type in a few words, and steal information. But when you're literally hacking someone or cracking information, it takes up to days or even months to get that information because it takes a lot of research. You need to know what type of device you get into, what type of person it is, what type of security do they have, what type of security do you have, and then how do you want to go about it. You have different types of attacks. You can do a brute force attack, which is basically going in information and ramming it until you get passwords or necessary information to get inside of people's devices or their billing info, their bank account information, to find out where they live, phone passwords, stuff like that. Then you have other attacks that can take a lot longer time, that you can just do multiple people at once, and then it spreads it out so it's not as easily traceable. But then again, it doesn't make it as valuable in time. Sometimes I just shut computers off or kick people offline when I play the game and leave it at that. Hacking people isn't necessarily something that was meant to be done for malicious reasons or the wrong reasons. It was really meant to get information, necessary information, but the reason why you do it depends on your reasoning behind it. So, for instance, the reason why I do it, like, if someone was to put a virus on my computer and I know who did it, or if I could find out where it came from, I would take the time to make sure that I can see who this individual was and if I can retaliate against it. Whereas if it was something really petty, like someone being irritating, sending spam messages, I would just do a brute force and get it over with, because it wouldn't take as long. And it makes it a lot more simpler, but it really just depends on the situation and what you need done when you're doing it. It's so simple to just walk past someone with the right software on an Android device and steal all their information off their credit cards or their license. And then just continue about your day while it's sent off to an email somewhere. And a lot of times you can't trace it unless you have like the right tools, which cost too much money sometimes for certain people. But for example, someone hacked my computer about a month and a half ago, and I traced it to exactly where he lived. And his computer, his phone service, his internet service, his zip code, and then he gave me an 8-mile radius of where he stayed. So I got that out the way pretty quick, and he took a lot of information off my computer. He took all of the programs that I coded. He took a lot of pictures of me, and he had a lot of other people's IP addresses that I had on my computer, and I lost them all.